So this is going to be dubbed because I completely forgot to save it with the audio the first time. Here I'm lamenting the fact that the only player I've got in my squad is Lee Johnson, and that the players are not coming in very quickly. It's really annoying because I actually thought of a few things to say. And obviously I've got nothing to say right now other than the fact that the friendlies are running through. I was mainly saying that I probably should have done a earlier season start, maybe from Belgium or Germany or somewhere like that. And I didn't realise just how long I was waiting on this screen. So at this point I was just saying that it was good that someone else is coming for Tonkin, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to bump the price for him. Generally, if you accept the first offer, then they do bump the prices. Then I don't even know what we're saying here. My head has fallen off at this point, and it's taken a while for my head to come back on. I've already started recording the next video without the audio as well, so I'm going to go back and do that. Here I was still lamenting the fact that I haven't got that many players. Eventually, I get my first striker in. He's quite good. He's got pace, dribbling, balance, and technique. And balance and dribbling work together, and technique works for that as well. So I'm quite happy about that. There, I say something about loan players and how I never loan players in this game. For better or for worse, who knows, who knows. Then I speak about the guy who said that he never generally gets players bidding for his players at a higher amount. It's something to do with accepting one of the offers, so it makes the other two players look. I'm even waggling the mouse around there and just going, look, you can get more money for him. Then we go on to accepting for our new goalkeeper. I say a little bit about the fact that goalkeepers don't really matter in this game. Like, if you're relying on your goalkeeper, then you're doing something wrong. I also say that scouts aren't very good because that guy's highly recommended, and as you can see, I would not recommend that guy at all. He has nothing that's worthwhile. He'd have high potential or decent current ability, which is why the scouts like him, because the AI in this game isn't really like the AI in other games. It's a really old game. You could make a much better AI by making it concentrate on the attributes as opposed to the current ability and potential ability. There we sell Tonkin for another 100,000, and now we've got more than enough money for our squad for this season, and to be honest, probably for next season as well. We're probably not going to spend all of that money. Now I start talking about the fact that I've got a plan to finish this video before the first match, so I can talk a little bit about my team and about some of the ideas that we're going to use. The worst thing is I said a couple of prophetic things earlier on one of the videos, which I'm going to repeat, but you're not going to believe me because it will seem like it was just me seeing the future. There's me checking that my players aren't in the reserves. I've done that before. Scott Ramsey is someone that I'm going to just keep because I'm not paying him any money and free players are better. And here I'm just saying about the fact that I've only got like 3 players for the first match, which is really, really frustrating. And the fact that the goalkeepers don't matter. And I'm more than happy to have 4 goalkeepers that don't matter. Now I will buy better goalkeepers on the off chance that something does matter with them, but I've played this game for a long, long time, and it's just absolutely random chance. Here I'm trying to work out what month August is. It's the 8th month. Yeah, that's the sort of level I'm at. And then I think here I just talk about that I need the scouts to finish their little jobs that they're on before I start signing players. Here I keep speaking about the fact that it's much better to have the two Champions League group stages. It makes it far easier to make sure that you get to the later stages, although it does mean that you play better teams in the later stages. Here we're going to ship off Poole to Rushden and Diamonds. Rushden obviously always a happy one for you to see because you know you're going to make a decent amount of cash with them. Then here I decide that we're going to run it to, I believe, the 16th or the 18th, just because at that point in time I'll be a few days before we start the season and I can still bring players in. Because obviously I still have a threadbare squad at the moment. Like Guardiola says he's only got 12 fit players, I've only got 3 fit players, maybe 4. So we sell off Poole. No idea what I was talking about now. I don't do it via a script, I just do it off the top of my head, and obviously not plugging in my microphone like an absolute clown means that who knows what was said here. Oh, I think I was saying how Liverpool are better than Manchester United on this iteration of the game, the .68. They generally seem to do better. And then I said after I said that, obviously United won the Charity Shield. So this is where I go through the players. I look at him because he's got high creativity in passing, and I say he'd be a pretty decent central midfielder, although his technique's a bit low. I consider buying him and putting him back as a training to be a midfielder. Then I start being very disparaging about a lot of these players. This guy is an okay right winger, but his finishing's too high. This is the first guy that I'm really tempted to buy. I think I was tempted to buy him before, but he's dropped his wage demands, and I don't want to keep him for a long time. Players that I sign this low are incredibly replaceable. He's got decent off the ball, decent jumping, decent pace, and his finishing's not very good, but it doesn't really matter with these players. Like it only matters towards the higher echelons where you get fewer chances. We'll get that many chances in these games that low finishing won't be a problem. And I do say here that for some reason the game prioritises passing over finishing for finishing, which confuses me, but it does at some points in time. And then I start speaking about how the fact that as long as you've got position on defenders, that's okay. Don't worry about the tackling when you're in these lower divisions. Tackling's the second most important thing behind positioning, but positioning's the most important thing. So we're going to sign him. He's a left winger, so we don't really want him. I have a little think about him, but I don't want to pay any money for players that are that bad. Still looking for more goalkeepers. I always like to have about 40 goalkeepers, always important. So now we're doing the same thing. I tried to buy Hardiker or Hardiker, I don't know how you say his name. I need to start putting more money in. Don't want right backs, although we can play right backs in centre back if they've got okay versatility. Then we start looking for attacking players, and I like the look of this guy. His technique isn't ideal, however he's cheap, and his versatility is 18, which basically means that I can play him as a left winger without too much of a issue with his attributes. And then I and ah about Ross Squire, and eventually I decide to purchase him because 20 passing here is incredibly useful because, like I said before, it checks passing when it's looking at scoring goals. Don't know why, but it does. I look at John Mackey as well, and I very, very tempted to buy him. I look back at him and say that his attribute spread is quite good. He's got decent bravery. I'd like his heading to be a little bit lower, but in terms of an all-round defender, he's quite good. The problem is that when you buy teams from teams that are in a higher league, you pay a premium, so he won't be as cheap as anyone else. So 24,000, we can probably get cheaper players than that if we need to. And then we start looking through the Italian players. Again, just trying to hoard goalkeepers. I'll explain why at a future point. And then sometimes I click on players more than once. And I am doing this much more slowly than I normally do, just so that you can keep up, and I'm trying to explain things as well. So here we keep looking at the key things. That Sareen is quite good, but he just wants too high a wage. If he's on the transfer list for longer, his wage will come down, but it's probably not going to happen. Then I look in Ireland and Damien O'Rourke's okay, but he's nothing special. We really want the key stat to be like at least 15, but ideally 20. I pick up Nolan as a defensive midfielder because he's cheap, is incredibly cheap, and I don't really have any other options until. So we're looking at creativity, and we don't really find anyone here. And again, because I'm forgetful, I completely forget I've looked at that. When I go to Sweden, I find this guy who I would really like. He's got a good attribute spread, and I check if he's a midfielder, and he is a midfielder. So we've got technique, and we've got dribbling, and we've got off the ball. The only thing we're lacking here is balance, which I would like as well, but can't have everything. Beggars can't be choosers. And I think that's it for here. Oh, I do have a look at high creativity is quite good with high passing. Like, creativity is preferred to passing, but if you only have one, then passing is the better one to have. And then we look at this guy, Bata Bear, however you say his name. He is someone that I would really like, but I just don't think I can beat the other teams that go in for him. And I find this other defender, and I'm like, well, he's better than what we've got, and he's 90 quid a week, so we'll probably just purchase him. And this is why playing the non-EU stuff, like, you aren't picking these players up in any other game unless you're playing non-EU. You're just not picking them up. When you can eventually sign them, you probably don't. So this is like one of the times when you can get a load of different players. This is a guy that I'm really interested in. He's got off the ball, he's got dribbling. His bravery's not great, but he is someone that I think will score a lot of goals. And then I and ah about this guy for ages. This guy could be a really, really, really good central midfielder, and even though I go off him, I do think about buying him. This guy would be a good midfielder because of his passing, although he's not got great technique. And then that's it for the current. So yeah, I go back to him, and I know he's going to score quite a lot of goals. Speaking about his passing, his dribbling, his long shots, his technique, I think his balance as well. And I think I put him to shortlist and decide that I might buy him if I need to. And I have a little think about the strikers as well. I quite like the fact that the strikers have got dribbling, balance, technique. And this guy's cheap, so I decided to pick him up again, only on short contracts, because I'm not going to keep him for ages. I don't want right backs. And then this is a guy that I speak about at quite a length. He's got positioning, tackling, work rate, teamwork, passing. This is quite a good defensive midfielder. I've had him before, and the problem with him is that I would have to spend a big chunk of my budget of my wages, and I don't think he's good enough to justify that. I don't know that at the moment, but I do in a little bit. So that's the biggest issue with him. And then I look at goalkeepers again, because like I said, I like to hoard goalkeepers for no good reason. then I start whining about the fact that I've not got as many players as I'd like to at this point in time, although that does get sorted. This, I do put the bid up once, and then I'm like, okay, we can buy him as long as he wants a small amount, and there I just say, look how bad what the scout picks is, and this is when we start going through the players that are coming in. I have a general rule of like, if you can get them on like the lower wages, below 500 is essentially, and I was saying that I've got it set up so you can look at all of these, because in reality you would have a discussion with these players when they came in. You would say, right, look, we don't want you to be playing in these first team games, we're going to bring you through, and they go, I want lots of money for that, and you go, alright, well, we'll pay you in the first team, and then you don't need lots of money. So yeah, we do that, we give him a contract, and he's going to turn into one of our players soon. And now I'm just deciding that I'm going to run it until the 18th of the 8th as opposed to the 14th of the 8th. So that'll give me a few more days to pick up players. We pick up this guy, and again I'm looking at the same thing, I just want him on a cheap. He can be a hot prospect, and obviously then I'll leave them in the youth team, and they play reserve games and they're not fit for the matches, and it does my head in. All over 50 quid a week. This is the start of me trying to buy this guy. He's good, but he's not great, so I just give up in the end. Really, I'm not going to be forgetting to put my microphone in ever again. So Ross Squire, a player that I really wanted, on the second thought, I've got decent passing, so we pick him up, and again, not the most expensive player, £220 a week, I'm more than happy for that. You can put him as a decent young player and he'll be happier when he plays. However, he's absolutely fine with you're a good young player, pal. Glenpool goes, another 100,000, Morton comes in, 2k. So right now we've got the two players that have come in, the goalkeeper and the striker, and then we decide not to go for the defensive midfielder. Don't want to pay 1,800. That's a big chunk of change for a player that I'm not going to be able to shift off as well, so I just decide against that. I was going to show you Jack Lester and explain how Jack Lester, although he looks brilliant, is not a player that does well because of how the match engine works. Obviously he's going to score 3 against me now, but don't you worry. And so I pick up another player. And we finalise some of these contracts. Oh. So we're now looking through if there's anyone else that's come up, because I say, look, I haven't got long until the first match. I could really do with getting someone in before this match. I don't want to lose the first game. That'd be incredibly frustrating, to give it a big I am and then get trashed in my first game. And then luckily I get Steve Darlington on my radar. I've signed him a few times in the past. He's a very good player. He's someone that will score goals in this division. And I don't know if it's Stevenage or whomever who like to sell him, so I'm more than willing to purchase him. And then I decide, I think we just look through. I have another look at the guy that I've seen before, because he is quite tempting, but I haven't got the money to spend. And I'm trying to work out who else I want, because I'm still looking for defenders, because I'm quite acutely aware that my defence is still not very good. Then I'm just looking now to see if anyone's come on. I don't think they have. I don't think I'll buy anyone new here. I'm still waiting for him, and I think that is it, although there might be one that comes up on. So I eventually decide to put a bid in for Batabear. I lament the fact that he is. Oh, this is it. Makandele, incredibly good player, like incredibly good. I've not seen him before in the game. However, I have this time, and I'm like, right, I need that player. He's far better than anything else. I eventually decide to put a bid in for not Mohammed, but Batabia, and I'm like, well, hopefully these haven't bid for him, and they have, and I'm like, well, we're never buying him, are we? But I can just leave the bid in. It's absolutely fine. And then I have another quick look. I'd say that I don't want defenders that go off the ball. That striker's okay. And I leave off by saying I will cut it here, and then I will go to the first match on the next one. And what I do there is I leave the lead out again, which does my head in. So that's the end of this video.